One job to do tonight, and that's to pull apart and put back together the PPS mission statement. I'm wondering if Superintendent Guerrero, if you'd like to introduce the subject or introduce the staff that will be presenting.
Yeah, well, good evening, directors. Thank you for coming together this evening. It's actually a good time to do this insofar as our journey as an organization. We're getting ready to come back full force for the fall. The building will be abuzz in just a matter of a couple weeks. We, set out sort of this roadmap. I think I described it to you, but we invested the year that we knew we needed to with the community to re-engage them, to arrive at a vision. We spent quite a bit of time and in retreats with directors to, move towards having very student outcome oriented goals that would make clear to everybody what the expectations are. We talked about sort of staff then sort of getting to work with, developing the kinds of action steps that will get us to those goals. We've started to report out on our progress and some interim measures, but of course the last year and a half has not permitted us to, collect the full body of metrics. So I say all of that because there come moments in the evolution, the cycle, as the years go by in any organization to revisit its mission statement. And so that's really sort of the intent of this evening. And so if we're successful, we'll leave here with a crisp, powerful sentence that really speaks to the organization. It sounds like maybe that shouldn't be a complicated task, but you want to be really deliberate about it, right? In the same way that we gave a lot of thought to our vision, I'll just give you sort of a Google sort of statement just to say out loud. A mission statement is a literal quote stating what a brand or company is setting out to do. It lets the public know the product or service it provides, who it makes it for, and why it's doing it. A vision statement is a brand looking toward the future, saying what it hopes to achieve through its mission statement. A bit more conceptual and aspirational, but it's a glimpse into what the brand can provide for the client or the consumer. So we have our vision statement. We'll certainly start by reviewing all of that, but really want you to put your best thinking to coalesce, and thankfully we have our new directors here, so it's really important to arrive on a statement that the seven of you can really affirm as a mission statement for this organization. That really communicates to the broader public, to our stakeholders, to our students and families, what we're about as an organization. So we have staff available here this evening to help sort of inform the conversation or be a part of the conversation, and because they'll be new to a couple of our directors as we jump into a very quick presentation before we start having the discussion. I want to make sure that they introduce themselves as we start. So.
And Terry has asked that if we hear any feedback, which we are hearing, Terry, that he would fix it for us. So Terry, if you can hear us, we are getting feedback. I like to think of the mission statement as like an elevator speech when somebody says, like, what are you about? And instead of saying, going through the long version, you can say, this is what we're about.
Jackson just had a question, so I'm asking. Andrew's joining us remotely. Is anybody else?
No.
Oh, we are missing Amy, aren't we?
And Amy's not here?
She's absent.
Okay, she's not coming.
Okay. So I did not know that. So we have an excused absence of Amy, thank you, and Amy Constam, Director Constam, and Director Scott is joining us by telephone, or by Google Meet, I guess.
Okay, shall we quickly go around the table? Do you want to start, Jonathan, introducing yourselves to our...
Sure. Good evening, Directors Jonathan Garcia, Chief of Staff.
Hi, everyone. I'm Danny Ledesma. I'm the RESJ advisor.
Esther Bay, Regional Superintendent, K5 KE.
Hi, David Roy, Senior Director of Communications.
Herman Green,
Board Member, Zone 4.
Julia Brim-Edwards, board member. Good evening, everybody.
Michelle DePass, board chair.
Gary Hollins, board member.
Haley Lowry, board member.
Jackson Weinberg, student rep.
Good evening, Liz Large, contracted general counsel.
Superintendent.
Claire Hertz, deputy superintendent.
John Bird, deputy superintendent. Newly appointed.
Celebration for that. It's going to be okay to clap while I'm the chair for good things.
Especially once if you ask us.
Will you join me in? Yes. So we should proceed.
We also had our regional superintendent for high schools join us,
Thank you for joining us.
Dr. Margaret Calvert.
Dr. Calvert, thank you.
So for moving forward, we'll likely see, I think I mentioned this in a note to directors, likely all the younger students will be reporting as there are older students will be reporting to Margaret in one shape or form. So just to give you a little bit of a preview there.
All right, so again, thanks for being here tonight. And so we'll start off with going over our vision statement. So as Director DePass alluded to, a mission statement tells us, what we're about. The vision tells us the future position we want to be in. So it really describes a future state for us. And so specifically to our vision here at Portland Public Schools, our vision statement is a short statement that encompasses the entirety of PPS Reimagined, which, as you all know, is a 50-page document that includes a graduate portrait, which are 9 elements, characteristics that we aspire for our students, that our community aspires for in our students. It also articulates a set of educator essentials. What are the attributes, characteristics that we want in our educators? And lastly, we have a set of system shifts, things that we need to change over the course as a district to shift the system to better support our students. And so our vision statement, which is what you can see on this slide here, a graduate of Portland Public Schools will be a compassionate, critical thinker, able to collaborate and solve problems, and be prepared to lead a more socially just world. So, just for 1 second, read that sentence to yourself, and then look at the portrait elements right below that. So again, a vision statement tells us a future state. And so for PPS, this is our future state. We want to graduate students who are going to be compassionate, critical thinkers, who are able to collaborate and solve problems. I think for me, the most exciting part of why I come to work every day and why I'm excited to be able to represent PPS across the country is this piece around prepared to lead a socially just world. That's powerful, right? And we have the characteristics that our community has outlined for us that make that happen. And so, as many board members know, how did we arrive at our vision?
Lots of sticky notes.
A lot of sticky notes, yeah. So over 16,000 data points, over 35 meetings with community groups in all languages. We worked very closely with our racial equity and social justice partners. We went on learning journeys and really brought together a dynamic set of community members to really think about and envision a future that we could be proud of. And so just, many of you participated as citizens, as board members, as students, and so really just appreciate again that this vision really serves as our North Star. It really serves as our destination. It gives us a clear destination from where our community, in terms of what our community wants, in terms of our students, in terms of our school district, in terms of our educators. And that's really important, and it took us a year, a rigorous year, but it really served as the backbone for how our organization, one, thinks about community engagement, but two, lives into really serving and listening to communities of color, particularly our Black and Indigenous communities as reflected in the community action. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Danny, who's who's going to co-facilitate today, to talk a little bit about the mission statement.
I have just a really quick comment.
Please.
I love the graphics. I'm just wondering, for those people who can't see the 1-point type, what that time period was. It was roughly 2018, but did the process start in 2017? I guess, let's see, under Student Summit.
Yeah, the Student Summit started in December, it was in December of 2017.
I think 2018.
2018.
And then it finished in the spring of 2019.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
Yes, so December was the first, there was a Student Summit that launched it. Really, it was important for us to launch the vision process with students at the center. So we were at Cleveland High School, where we hosted students, or actually the DSC were the ones that hosted the summit with us, and that really launched a series of events. So absolutely, so starting in November or December of 18,
18.
and it was approved and adopted by the board in June 2019.
All right, so as we think about what Jonathan talked about, the vision statement being future-oriented, we really want to sort of dial into what is a mission statement. A mission statement, like a vision statement, has the power to be catalytic, has the power to be inspirational, and to compel people to think, what actions can we take? What actions are we taking to really realize the vision statement? The point of difference between the vision and the mission statement for tonight is that the mission statement is oriented to what are we doing right now, as opposed to the vision statement that is really future oriented. And so what we wanted to do right now is to think about a mission statement that has 3 specific elements: one of cause, action, and impact. And so as we look at the mission statement that is the current one, you'll notice that it is every student by name prepared for college, career, and participation as an active community member, regardless of race, income, or zip code. Pretty good. However, now that we've had time for our community, for our staff, for all of you to really start to think about the vision and how our mission statement can be more closely aligned with the vision, what has been proposed is the following. The mission of PBS is to provide robust, inclusive, joyful learning experiences that disrupt racial, systemic inequities so that every PBS student is prepared to lead a more socially just world. So if we go back to those 3 elements of the cause, right? Who, what, and where, that cause is every PBS student. If we think about the next element of our actions, the present day actions that we're going to be anchored to help us realize that vision statement, is providing robust, inclusive, joyful learning experiences that disrupt racial systemic inequities. And then that last component of the impact is so that those students are prepared to lead a more socially just world.
I appreciate the color coding on the cause, the action, and the impact. It was made very easy to digest.
All right, so what we wanted to do is take you through some discussion questions so that we can start to arrive at a finalized mission statement. So I guess the first question that we wanted to ask you is, in terms of the proposed mission statement, do you feel like it's compelling? Is it compelling enough to really declare, and is it a compelling declaration of our current purpose and our values as a school district? But we never ask just one simple question. It has to be a 3-parter. Does it reflect our responsibilities to our students and families? And if not, how might we strengthen the statement to reflect our purpose and values in alignment with our community-informed vision, PBS Reimagined? So why don't you take a couple moments to think about that, and we'll kind of open it up for a discussion about number one, is it compelling? Is it a declaration of our values and our responsibilities?
Do you want us to just jump in, or should we have silent reading time?
Oh, no, I was like, we'll give you a couple moments, but please jump in.
So the things about that I like inclusive and joyful, which I think is more inviting. What I am concerned about, I'm trying to say, it's indirectly referred to, is that we talk about is prepared to lead a more socially just world. And then one thing about, I guess what I think is just like our fundamental mission is like kids need to learn how to read, do math. There's some really core things that are only the school district is going to provide, or should provide, and that's our core mission. And I don't see it explicitly in there, like that's, because if I'm a parent and my student doesn't know how to read, are they going to be prepared to lead a more socially just world?
So if I could paraphrase for you, it's not enough of a declaration of our educational purpose.
Right, like it's kind of the core of it. And
in terms of the action.
Another thing just to throw out is, I think everybody has their own career and life plan, and for a lot of people, it's not necessarily to be the leader, it's to be like, I'm going to be a good team member. And so in some ways, like implying that everybody has to be a leader versus like some people want to be team members or do something else. But so I think some people won't see themselves in that, or like it's not the piece about the socially just world, it's more like I want to be a contributor, but I'm not the leader.
So you're worried that the word lead is a more socially just world isn't inclusive enough of the different roles?
Right, because...
And I heard you say contributor, Julia, that you want to be a contributor to a more socially just world, maybe not a leader.
Yeah, I just think leader, the vast majority of people, I think often are, tell me what my role in the team is.
It's also kind of that introvert, extrovert, I might not want to be the first person to talk in the room. Or, I think it's learning style.
Yeah.
How you position yourself in space might not be as a leader.
Okay.
And do we want to do more than disrupt? Do we want to something more destructive than disrupt?
All right.
Because that disrupting doesn't mean you're ending it or addressing it. It just means you're disrupting it. But so maybe a different verb.
Okay. What about some other folks? Is this compelling? Is it a compelling declaration? Does it elicit enough information about our responsibility to students and families?
My favorite 3 words in there are robust, inclusive, and joyful. And I think for me that captures that learning experience that we want students to have. I mean, the superintendent talks about rigor all the time, and I know that that's one of our huge foci is how do we have academically rigorous, strong programs that help our students to succeed, to hit those goals of 3rd grade reading, 5th grade math, etc. So I love that robust is there. And then inclusive, I think, definitely goes to not just our racial equity work we're doing, but I think also the LGBTQ work that we've done as a district. And so I think that, and then I think this, if Director Bailey was here, he'd be talking about SPED students. It is all students, all of our students. And then joyful, I think, gets to what we've been talking about with our social and emotional learning, and that idea of that, school should be a place where kids belong and feel connected and feel nurtured, and there's a sense of joy at school. So for me, that really, those 3 words really hit a lot of what we've been talking about for the last 2 years of what we want the day-to-day experience of students to be like. So I really appreciate that that's like what we lead with there.
Great. So I'm hearing a lot of resonance with the values, of it being compelling around the value statements. All right, other folks?
I'm also feeling very leading with the values. I like that joyful and systemic racial inequities are in the same sentence. I feel like we need to use those words to be very intentional about what our goal is. But I also kind of agree with what you're saying about having stronger language, and it's actually just comparing to a mission statement that I heard this weekend, and that the mission is to fundamentally change the educational experiences for students of color in the U.S. So it's like fundamentally change the educational experience. It gives me a really clear idea of not how we're doing it, but that's the goal, the end goal. So I like the idea. I like the idea of strengthening the word disrupt and using a stronger, more robust word in place of that. But I love the word joyful. I think in the absence of joy, and a lot of our kids show up not joyful, but if we can provide that space for all kids, I would think that I would feel very accomplished.
Yeah, that's great. Other folks? Is this a compelling declaration of our values and of our vision?
Andrew?
Can you all hear me? Is that a yes? Can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Yes, thank you.
All right. Oh, excellent. No, I appreciate all those comments. I think the Julia's comment about lead is a really good one, and I don't know what the right word is there. Maybe contribute to a more socially just world. But I would agree with that. And then I actually do find disrupt to be a powerful word. But if there's another one, I'm all on board with that as well. In terms of like, are we willing to say that we want to end the systemic racial inequities, that would be great. I think what we have here in the draft captures a lot of that, but the suggestions so far make a lot of sense.
I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing Andrew. Could he be just a skosh louder?
Yeah, I was.
Wait, he's doing it right now.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Same.
So what I heard, Andrew, is that he agreed a lot with Julia around sort of like the contribute versus lead. That he liked disrupt. He saw disrupt as powerful, but was really open to something more destructive. I think that's all that I heard as well. So,
Yes, that's right. You got it. Thanks, Danny.
Anyone else? Or Jackson, did you have something that you wanted to add?
I just asked him a question and he answered beautifully, and so now I'm putting him on the spot. So.
Okay. So what I said was, it's great if we're prepared, but a willingness to act on what we're prepared to do, a willingness to act, to be pushing the envelope on being more socially just is something I would like to see. Courage to, willingness to, ability to.
Yeah, I like it. So it's not just a willingness, but also the ability to act on that, to take that contribution or leadership role. All right?
I think, okay, so I'm not sure how I want to put this out there, because I don't want anybody to feel like I don't like value all the work that's going into it. But I know protesters who can't read, so I don't really care if you know how to tear up or disrupt a racial system, and you can march on the White House and tear some stuff down, or march on the school. I don't care. I don't care if you know how to do that, because I know protesters who can't read. I have to help them with their bills. It's just basic stuff. So when kids come to school, you don't come to school to make friends. You come to school to get educated. Making friends is a byproduct of what happens while you're in school. But the reason that you come to school is to get an education, so that you can learn how to read, write, do arithmetic, understand some sciences and some weird stuff like that. Learn to blow something up in a chemistry classroom so that you can figure out what two things not put together or whatever. Do that kind of stuff. And while you're doing that, you generally make friends with other people who like to blow stuff up or do whatever it is. I know I can't keep saying blow stuff up, because I don't want folks to think that that's the reason you come to school, to learn how to blow stuff up. But the idea is
there's
that
disruption there. That disruption and destruction.
Disruption is there, but you got the disruption because you were learning, right? And so I would like to see, I like joyful learning, but I would want to see, like, I like go back to the thing, the big wheel. I like those pieces where we're talking about the different aspects of what we're doing and how we're going to do it. I just don't know how you plug all that into 3 sentences Because you only got like 60 seconds, if that, in an elevator, and you gotta spend 15 of those, you know what I'm saying, just, formalities, right? So then that takes, so I'm just,
Well, you're the perfect segue, because I want to go to the second question. If we could just, everyone take a moment, take a camera, remember this, all right? Now, if we don't mind, could you go to the action to slide 10? So this is what we do, right? And so we've heard from a couple of folks around the what we do, wanting to strengthen that. So if we think about the action pieces in the proposed mission, it really is providing learning experiences that have certain qualities and in service of disrupting inequities, right? That speak to our values around racial justice. So I guess the question I want to ask you, which is question number 2 on the slide deck, is does the proposed mission statement articulate what we do and what differentiates our work at PBS and its impact on students? So Herman, Director Green, you were the perfect segue into question number 2.
I do what I can.
Because I think that's some of it, right? Because I think, and we had this, and for those of you who participated in the vision, we had this exact conversation where there was this difference between wanting to make sure that the basics, the core knowledge is achieved, but also wanting something more, right? Like there's something about the quality in achieving those, the approach to achieving those basics that we wanted to articulate in our vision, and that's why our graduate profile is so much more than blowing up stuff in science class. Although no shade to the blowing up stuff in science class, right? So I guess the question, as you reflect on the question, is as you think about what would differentiate our district, what's differentiating the work and your leadership in our district, does the mission statement, those words in orange, does that do enough to describe both the learning qualities and the learning experience as well as the approach to that? And does it have a tight enough connection to the graduate profile?
I'm wondering if there's from what Julia said, there's the sense of the core competencies. So teaching kids to read, kids to do math, and then, as they get to high school level like Jackson, helping them hone some of those skills. That's sort of the ideal progression. But I think what Julia was saying about those core competencies that we're teaching kids to read and write and do math and then build on that to become leaders. So is there a way to capture some of that? So I wonder if a word like robust, inclusive, joyful, comprehensive learning experience, what's a word to say I don't know if robust should be rigorous, but there might be a sentence there, a word to say this is
yeah, so
how do we put our arms around that? Yeah.
Or comprehensive, or something about that robust may not be.
Well, maybe it's robust academics. I mean, because it's sort of you want, and maybe it's you start with inclusive and joyful, which is what kids like, and then the robust academics. Because I think we automatically think that that's what we're talking about when we say robust or rigorous. We're talking about the core academics. But I don't think everybody else necessarily makes that, so maybe being more explicit, but not leading with that, because then that'll just kill some kids.
Some kids. I don't know if comprehensive then captures that we're doing. Yes, we're creating social justice leaders who have learned how to read and to pay, but that we're teaching both the basics and the advanced pieces of the education. I don't know how to capture that. What comprehensive is the word, or just trying to hear what y'all are saying.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of those areas where we're going to prepare ourselves to have those discussions where we all bring these different experiences to bear, and for me, I'm assuming we're an educational institution that will teach kids to read, and I think that what you're saying is that some parents are going to want to see it's in our North Star.
But the reality is we haven't taught our kids to read. We haven't taught our black boys to do advanced math. So we need to say that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And I think our goals do that.
Our goals do.
But I think how do we connect that to our mission statement in the 60 seconds in the elevator after we... Can you really do pleasantries in 15 seconds?
I can.
Because it seems like it might take a little longer.
I've never seen it. You start out...
It's so warm. He's just it takes some...
He's got a tie on. It's a whole different scene. He's got 15 seconds.
So I think, so maybe if we, I think we're hearing the sort of like wanting to sort of marry
Yes.
core competencies along with a joyful approach. And we've heard that joyful and inclusive are particularly compelling, but we need equally compelling academic rigor, comprehensiveness, quality, that. So we'll kind of move into there.
I guess
Sue was biting at the bit. I'm really interested to hear what Sue was saying.
Well, I was, I met with our facilitators before this meeting, and you all almost verbatim said the comments I said to them. Around, look, I know we talk in shorthand, I'll just pick on the first adjective. When we say robust, I think what we mean by that is a high-quality, well-rounded education where students are literate, that they are critical thinkers, that they have the requisite core knowledge and skill set. Like we're a school system, K-12. They have to have those things. While we're doing those things, we want the experience to be positive and joyful. We want them to have the equitable supports to have the same opportunity to have success and thrive, right? And so
That's hilarious.
So it's great to actually hear that we're thinking of this similarly, because I don't want our mission statement to be easily substituted for any other school district.
Right.
Right? It has to be compelling, but it also has to capture, you're right, for our families, that we don't forget what our core responsibility is, but we want to do it in a manner that prepares them to engage, be aware of, think of, and maybe lead, the kind of world that we want to see.
I appreciate that.
I really like that we're sort of taking robust and unpacking robust, because I think that's really important. So I'm going to move us into another piece. Oh, sorry.
A question, but I listened to the superintendent, and I really agree with the rigorous piece, and I think we should start with the rigorous. I kind of went down a rigorous educational learning environment. I think we're a school, and like you said, we want to provide an educational component first. And I think rigorous is a great word to use to let folks know the seriousness of what we're trying to do. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, and it starts with the same letter as R, so it works.
You're always substituted for letters.
And
Okay. So what I was gonna, so we've talked a little bit about the educational experience and sort of like the approach and then the core. I think the other thing that I heard from folks is the disruption and the sort of tie to racial justice. And as you know, I'm very interested in this topic. I think the first thing that I heard was that disrupt may not be destructive enough, and then we got to hear from Director Green and the bombing. So we've got us in the right sort of mindset. But then I think the other thing I heard was an undertone of sort of like, is the disrupting, does there need to be a sort of complementary sort of rebuilding
The state
on the other
you
side
want
of
to
that,
be.
right? So when Chair DePass talked about the sort of rebuild, now I'm only thinking a rigorous rebuild, but it's when you said this the mission statement about the future state that is really different. And so I think that's kind of the challenge in racial justice work. On the one hand, we're disrupting, and on the other hand, we're trying to build. So does anyone have any suggestions about that? Are we okay with disrupt racial systemic inequities in addition to the academic part? Destroy.
I've been thinking about language a lot, and we spoke about this today. Where I remember like raising my kids, I never said don't go on the street because it was like womp 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 street. Instead, I said stay on the sidewalk, and I'm wondering if there's a part of that disrupt piece that needs a clear vision of what and actually in racial equity work, I don't know that I've heard a clear vision of what an equitable society looks like. None of us in the room have experienced it. So I'm just wondering if that's an additive piece that would add to without being too wordy.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, Michelle.
Sounds like a double negative.
Yeah, to say what we want rather than what we want to stop.
I've heard, in different leadership trainings that, the mark of a really good leader is to to create a vision and then be able to communicate the vision. Because you can't you can't make a piece of art if you can't envision what the clay is, what it's going to be in a week. If you're given a lump of clay, you need to be able to ideate. You know, in a week, if I manipulate it, it'll look like this, and I can paint it and look, you know, completely different. And so it's spelling out that, communicating that vision, and that I find missing sometimes with racial equity work. It's like I'm tired of talking about like the systems. Everybody knows the systems, you know, not set up for everyone to be successful in. But what is a system that is set up to, you know,
Well, I think
so
the
everybody has
challenge-
a chance at, you know, getting to the success that they envision.
Right. Well, and I think the added challenge is that the mission statement is now, right?
It's now.
So as we think about like the temporal of what's happening right now, I think one of the additional challenge of racial equity work is that there is quite a bit of disruption, right? And so I think there's a responsibility to be transparent about what is happening, right? So it's not just education as usual, it is education with a disruptive bent towards realizing the vision. So I think there's maybe, if you wouldn't mind, is there a way to maybe, when we think about the experiences that disrupt or destroy or whatever, acknowledgement of the inequities, but maybe there's something that we can do in the every PPS student that is more aligned to our theory of action, where we sort of point out our vision more around centering some of our our Black and Native students, for example, because that gets us closer to our belief that if we center on Black and Native students, we'll get to that sort of future state that we want.
That theory of action, but then is that not future oriented? Let's see.
So I think disrupting is what is happening now, and centering on Black and Native students is happening now, so that when we achieve our vision, particularly Black and Native students, that centering of it will help us build a system that achieves the graduate profile portrait.
So I guess I'm struggling with the use of Black and Native in like we're going to help them get to where like it's on all of us, you know, and maybe even particularly white students to be versed in disruption because the system preferences, including our systems, you know, preference, you know, white students. I don't even want to say that, but I'm wondering if we can. I like the use of every student, but I'm wondering. I don't know if I like the, especially our Black and Native American students called out.
But I was gonna. You went a different place than where I thought you were, but you were talking about the future, and I think that the prepared to lead. I think our students are already leading, and I think we saw that from like those. What was it? 5th graders who spoke about climate justice. I think we see it from. You know, if you saw the art show that our students did around Black Lives Matter and some of the work they've done, I think our students are already leading a more socially just world. So I wonder if, as part of our mission statement, we're not going to wait till they turn 18 and graduate to make a difference in our community. Our kids are already making a difference in our community. So I'm wondering if that prepared to lead are leading. Like they're leading it now. What?
Are contributing.
Continue to lead. Continue to contribute. Continue to.
Yeah, I was thinking challenge to instead of saying just lead, maybe like challenge to rebuild.
Yeah. But I think to have it be a now instead of a future, have it be a now word because our kids are already doing this.
So then say now at the end, challenge to rebuild a more socially just world now.
Yeah. I mean, the listing specifically Black and Native American students does line up with our goals. But I do think you're right, there could be like a paternalistic piece there too.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Thank you for, yeah.
So can I ask a question to understand? So when you say that we call out especially Black and Native students, you feel like that, the reaction to that is it puts the onus of the responsibility of Black and Native students, or you feel like it's?
I feel like it would be important for all students to be encouraged to prepare
Succeed,
to.
yeah.
contribute, all students.
Yeah.
Whether that's, if we're gonna differentiate who needs more help, bringing their voice, to the table, or who needs to be helped, maybe not leading, that
Yeah.
every student should be encouraged to be able to contribute to a more socially just world.
For me, it looks like it puts us at a deficit.
It's a negative connotation. is how I read it.
That's how I feel too.
Yeah.
Even though it does align, calling out Black and Native students aligns perfectly with our goals and our vision.
It's where it is.
But I'm also very conscious of the language that we're using and
Our goals are about our
reinforcing every
failures,
time.
and this is about our success.
Yes, every time we open our mouths, we're talking about Black and Native students as if it's on them that they're not achieving and that the same rates our white students are. And so it's just, I'm very, I don't know if I can articulate, but it feels like the Black and Native students feels a little paternalistic.
So I think, so it seems like we need to play around with the placement of the actions, because I think ultimately the actions are the actions of the district, right? So it shouldn't, we need to make sure that it doesn't read like that the students are having to do the actions, right? The impact is the sort of every student. So if we go back to the slide about our cause, every PPS student, right? That's our cause, right? That's where we're centering the work. And so every PPS student, particularly Black and Native students, is the centering, right? The impact is prepared to lead, that if we center the students, if we focus on every student, particularly centering Black and Native students, then students will be, what will happen? What's the impact of the actions and the cause on the students, right? And so this one, I wonder, Jonathan had a really good suggestion, is that maybe if we take away prepared to lead a more socially just world and go back to Herman's suggestion of realize the graduate portrait.
So I kind of like that because I think I'm just trying to view it like the spectrum of families that we have, and I even like within my own family of like what your expectations are. It's like, oh my God, I hope they can get a job. If they come out with like the skills to get a job, that was like, it's not going to be a problem. Like they're going to be able to do X. But I feel, just speaking for myself with one child, that like there were times when it's like, okay, they just need to get like be able to read and function with like some basic skills or like enhanced skills, hopefully when they graduate. And I think we have to be careful not to look over that, because I think that's sort of the most basic thing that almost all parents are like, yeah, I send my kids to school because they're going to get an education and these other things. But if they get the other things but not the education.
Okay, so I'm doing some, I think we're close on something. So I heard from Director Collins that maybe if we lead with the robust, rigorous, comprehensive, like we get the business done first, and then we have the approach second, right? And so he's gonna do the magic, and then I'm gonna read.
That's what you do, Jonathan.
Pressure.
Whatever.
I've seen a lot of colors. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I can't read.
I'm whispering really. I'm like blue. I said blue. Okay. So why don't I'm gonna ask you guys to do something, because I'm just close your eyes for a moment, so that way you don't see the edits. So if everyone would, if you wouldn't mind just closing your eyes. I'm going to read in my nasally, sulky voice the mission statement. Okay, so we're in an elevator. You hear the thing chime, and I say, "Oh yeah, I'm with PPS. The mission of PPS is to provide a robust, rigorous, comprehensive, high-quality academic learning experience that is inclusive, that is inclusive and joyful, and disrupts racial systemic inequities so that every PPS student, especially our Black and Native American students, realize PPS's graduate portrait. I wanted it to be smoother.
If we're in an elevator, like I can't imagine myself saying that.
Yeah.
Like, if you ask me, I work at an ice cream factory. We make the most delicious ice cream on earth that
Yes.
always puts a smile on your face.
There you go.
We build the safest, most reliable, eco-friendly cars on earth, right? Like it rolls off the tongue. It makes
Right.
clear what our aspiration
Yeah.
is and what we do every day.
Yeah.
So
So
we
would you
need
take
that.
some friendly amendments? I'm gonna slash some words. Would you take some friendly amendments? Okay, let's take out robust.
Yes.
I feel like we need to choose one.
Let's take out let's choose or lose, comprehensive or high quality.
Take out high quality.
Because I think
Oh,
Oh, no, I mean, these
Wait,
quality.
yeah, we
Yeah, we're,
Leave I think we can only
Yeah,
have
I
comprehensive
think
or high
stay
quality.
high quality.
High quality?
high quality.
Take out comprehensive.
How about high quality and
High quality
well-rounded?
and rigorous.
You can't. So the superintendent suggestion is high quality, well-rounded. So he's just adding more words now.
We're taking away.
Let's take out comprehensive for now.
What do you want it to be? Rigorous, well-rounded? Because high quality and they're not the same word, but
Rigorous.
high quality carries.
Well, okay, we can come back to this. We'll come back to it. Okay, I also, learning experiences that are inclusive and joyful and disrupt racial systemic inequities so that every student, especially our Black and Native American students, realize.
I would take that out.
I just really don't like
Yeah, I would take out
especially our
especially
Black
Black and
and
Native
Native.
students.
I just
Take
really
that
don't
out.
like it.
Okay, we're gonna push back in meetings with all of you.
And
Okay.
I don't like the word realize.
It's good we know that in advance.
I don't like the word realize because in this, when I heard you say it, it's like the little light bulb goes on in their head. I know we're using it to mean like enacts it, attains it, but the word realize threw me off.
Yeah.
Actualizes,
Actualizes.
whatever the word is.
I can't read the blue, but if it says
I can't either.
the graduate, sorry, I'm colorblind. But, oh, there we go. How about something that's a little, I think, kind of insider? It's like what we know what the graduate profile is, like actualizes our vision for our graduates, which is more like plain speak versus.
I love that.
Yep, we could link to the thing, right?
Yeah.
That's the if the elevator gets stuck.
It's still a
Bring it
little
back.
nebulous, and if I can steal sort of a note that Liz passed here about how to make this a really active statement, not be redundant about the mission of PPS is, we ensure every student receives a rigorous, well-rounded education. Let's start off with a more
We
declarative.
ensure that. I like
every
that.
student,
Yeah.
receives what?
And I think
You
that
could
we
even
ensure
start
ensure
by
every
saying
student.
every student
We
receives
ensure
a
that.
We
rigorous.
ensure,
That's
which
better.
means we give them the equitable opportunities and supports.
So, when I used to read the PPS mission statement that's at the bottom of, it's still on some people's emails, that says every student by name, I used to yell at my computer but my student's not getting that. But it did give me a sense of I knew what PPS was saying they were gonna do. And for two of my kids, I said yes. And one of my kids is no, that's not happening every student by name. And I think you want parents to look at it what are we saying we're gonna do for their child and what they're gonna come out with. And so I think being the way that you had it before is more, or the way that you just were changing it is better.
So we ensure every PPS student is provided rigorous, high-quality academic learning experiences that are inclusive and joyful and disrupt systemic inequities, so that every PPS student actualizes the visit. So I guess.
Do you need we ensure? Can you say every student will be provided a rigorous?
Or
think
you can say
ensure is the active.
we provide.
We provide.
Get closer to the t-shirts by saying we provide instead of we ensure every student is provided.
We definitely want to get closer to the
Very
t-shirt.
closer to
We
the
provide Jonathan, we
Don't
provide
hold on,
every
Steve.
student. We should still have every
Yes,
student
we
up
still
there
have
at the beginning.
It's still there.
We provide every student a.
We provide every student a rigorous, high-quality academic learning experience that
Is
joyful. It should be learning experience instead of experiences.
inclusive and joyful and disrupts.
While disrupting.
While disrupting. That's a good
Ooh, that's a good
And it
one.
should be, is it learning experience or learning experiences?
I guess the one question I would ask is it a learning experience or is it multiple learning experiences for every student?
I think multiple learning experiences.
I think we can do every student
We provide every
rigorous
student
high quality academic
takes
experience.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So awesome.
experiences that are.
Is it only academic or is it just learning experiences?
There you go.
Yeah, excellent.
Because it's
So-
academic and it's social emotional learning. Danny, Jonathan, is it learning experiences inclusive of social emotional learning? Or are we calling out academic? Do we need the word academic?
We need the word academic.
Gary, what do you think about, I heard you respond, should we take away academic? We kept rigorous.
We can't remember. Well, and it's academic learning experiences, is that redundant?
No,
Is that the
but
question?
no. Well, but I think the question that we're trying to get to is, do we want to add something about social emotional? That's what we want to get
We
to.
wanna
So like,
add to-
do we want to say academic / social emotional learning? But I don't want to take out academic because
I think if you're adding social, emotional, you're adding too many words.
I think joyful for me covers
Maybe you
that.
can put something into what we want to accomplish. But I still don't understand, looking at this, I'm trying to figure out, well, by us doing all this, what are we hoping to get? And maybe that's at the bottom.
you don't understand the bottom part.
Yeah, I'm
Me.
understanding the bottom part. So where it says, like, every prepare student actualize vision of our graduates. Like, I don't know what that means. So.
I was gonna get there, but I was waiting till we got to the top.
Right. So I think if we put what we're looking for them to accomplish, what we're looking to accomplish with them at the end, then it might can add in other stuff.
So what if we put the act first?
So they actualize.
Act first. To actualize our vision for these graduates, we will ensure. What is the vision for
Oh, yeah.
So I love our graduate profile. I think it's awesome. And I still go back to what Michelle said about this is a statement about now. And that if we talk about our vision for our graduates, it's like, what about our third graders now, our fifth graders now? They're not graduated, they're on the path to that, they're living into that. But if we just say graduates, I feel like our kids are already making a difference in our world, so how do we say that?
And who is they?
Yeah.
And
Our
what about
students.
with in front of student and rigorous? We provide every student with
Okay,
rigorous, high-quality academic learning experiences that are inclusive and joyful while disrupting racial inequities so that they actualize, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I'm still confused.
All right,
so I have a great suggestion from Dr. O. Is there something around a successful environment for all students? Is there something words around creating that successful environment for students?
Say a little bit more, sir.
So what I said was that we needed to balance the disruptive racial inequities because that is sort of negative, but we need an outcome, which would be to create a success-oriented environment for all students.
I love that.
All right, let's see it.
I'm wondering
Do
if
some math, John.
Andrew is still following us and has anything to say.
Good question.
I am. Can you hear me? Yeah, no, I'm following. This is great. I don't have much to add, but thank you, Michelle, for checking in. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sorry.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
And we're so glad that you're here with us.
How's Lake Chelan?
Yeah, not quite there yet, but no, I'm glad I was able to join virtually for the conversation.
He's got a lot to do over here.
Okay,
The graduate piece is very focused on the high schoolers, where the third graders have a theory of action that also goes to the third graders.
What I'd like to do is
The kindergarten.
try the elevator again. But before we do the elevator, I think we need some more inspiration. So Jonathan, can you take us to the wheel of the Jonathan, of the...
The wheel of the Jonathan, let's
Yes, give us a vote.
Wheel.
Okay, whew, and look at it, it's big letters. Okay, everyone take a look at that. Because when we say realize and actualize the graduate portrait, we're talking about, this is the thing, right? So we're gonna take a look at that. We're gonna do some like hypnosis situation in a minute. So we're gonna take a look at that. Listen to the snaps. Okay, everyone got it? Do the click.
Did you want us to snap if we heard something that we liked?
No, not necessarily.
Just the snaps.
It's too much pressure. Okay, now I'm going to, so everyone now close your eyes. I'm going to read the latest version, and you tell me, imagine you're in the elevator. Okay, so the door is closed. Here we go. We provide every student with rigorous, high-quality academic learning experiences that are inclusive and joyful, while disrupting racial inequities, creating a successful environment for every student.
Yeah.
I like it.
I can live with that one.
Yeah.
It's the right length. I love the addition.
Are you gonna be able to say it when you go to Chicago?
Let's test it. Let's test our new deputy.
You put somebody else on the spot.
Come
What do you do at Portland Public Schools? Don't look at the screen.
Provide every student rigorous, high quality, joyful, and inclusive academic experiences.
Close.
Close.
You're getting close.
We provide every student with rigorous, high-quality academic learning experiences.
I like that. I mean, I know we don't have the impact then, right?
Yeah, you don't have
Yeah, that's the one thing we lost.
that becomes long.
Because we have the inputs.
Maybe just that we teach kids.
Well, I think the impact. I think the impact becomes every student. So it's still every student in terms of the impact. It's at the top and at the bottom in terms of impact. Oh, I mean, in terms of the cost. In terms of impact.
Yeah, so what is the?
Because the impact before was the socially just leaders.
So it's a successful environment for every student is the impact.
Okay. Yeah, I like that actually. Good job, Esther.
Thank you.
So can I ask you one last question as we think about this? Back to the questions. So as you reflect on the mission and the vision statements, what does it say about PPS as an organization? So as you think about that, what are we putting out there as an organization?
Could you say that again?
As you look at as you reflect, as you quietly reflect
Not so clear.
as you're on task and you quietly reflect on the mission and the vision statements, what do they say about PPS as an organization?
I see what you're saying.
What does that say about us? And I guess the next question is that what we want it to say about us?
I have one quick question.
Of course.
We got rid of every PPS student. I'm in favor of keeping out PPS just because we serve students outside of PPS sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's just focusing on
Every
every
student
student.
inclusive.
Yeah.
I like getting rid of PPS.
Yeah, I do too.
Oh, get
Or
it.
that I was like, yes, that works.
Yeah, I like getting rid of it too.
Just in,
I mean, not-
let's be real clear, in this statement.
In the
not-
statement.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because this is PPS.
Yeah.
We don't have to repeat.
Can I add a little wordsmith? A successful environment, do we mean a supportive environment? And then so we don't have to repeat every student, can we put it up front? We provide every student with a supportive environment that ensures a rigorous, high-quality academic learning experience.
No, I like it where it is
At
because
the
it pairs with the disrupting racial
I do too.
inequities.
I like the pairing as well.
Is supportive successful? What do you guys think? Supportive, successful?
I think successful.
Yeah. I like success.
What is a successful environment?
I like supportive.
I know we mean it.
Because supportive implies that you know, it's differentiated.
Okay.
So
Every
the-
student's gonna need
support it.
different support.
What, tell them more.
So the difference is this: if you have a supportive environment, it doesn't necessarily mean your eye is on making the child successful. But if you talk about a successful environment, you have to include the supports to get to the success. So it's just a little broader.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so my, it's so close. I'm sorry, I'm just scarred by part of some of my experiences at PBS because like what I'm concerned about is like the end doesn't end with like the outcome for what we want for the students, but rather the environment. It's like here's what we're going to provide. And you know, I've had some of my kids' teachers say, like I was teaching, just they weren't like I was too busy teaching to help them. And so it's more like, here's okay, I kid you not. Yeah, I kid you not. And so it's more like, hey, we did this, but like they just weren't learning. And so it puts the onus kind of back on the student, and I feel like we're just missing something at the very end about like, and we're gonna do that, and here's what you're gonna get. And
That's what Jack and I were talking about actually, to change the ending to be creating an environment for every student to succeed.
I like that.
That would
Does that
work
get
for
out?
me, yeah.
That seems.
I'll take it.
Take it.
Well, I have a child.
So, again, for Dr. Rose suggested that there's some impact that sort of ties it back to the original statement around leading a more just world. But is there something that can anchor that students succeed outside of PBS, right? So whether it's whatever it is, so kids succeed in the broader community or in the community or something like that.
Well, I think that word successful is also, I'm the daughter of an immigrant, and you know, it could be very narrow. It could be doctor, lawyer, not working in a restaurant. And so I like that it's, I like that it's not specified.
I do too.
The generality of it feels more inclusive.
This just for fun.
Let's see.
For fun.
So I'm looking at the thesaurus for succeeds: accomplish, benefit, flourish, prosper, thrive, triumph, win.
I just.
Jonathan, can it be an environment, where did you read? For every student to succeed?
That was those were
Creating
the,
it for every student.
yeah, for success.
For every student to succeed.
We provide every student with rigorous, high-quality academic learning experiences that are inclusive and joyful.
Did you have a suggestion, Margaret?
Perhaps.
There's whispering there.
Creating I would say a vibrant environment for every student to achieve excellence or demonstrate excellence.
Succeed or demonstrate excellence.
Where every student, I'm just pulling it from our graduate report, but we say achieve excellence.
Achieve excellence.
I think it's more active is demonstrating.
Mm-hmm. And it's on the district, like, to provide.
Yes.
And I like that excellence because it's broader than a narrow definition of success.
Success. Uh-huh.
It's not just Dr. Lawyer.
Shall we do the close our eyes again?
Yeah.
Are we going to
Close
Sean
our
read it?
eyes. It's an elevator. Okay, so the doors close. Bling, bling, bling. Okay.
What kind of elevator is this?
It's an old-timey elevator.
It's an old one, okay.
We provide every student with rigorous, high-quality academic learning experiences that are inclusive and joyful while disrupting racial inequities, creating a vibrant environment for every student to demonstrate excellence.
And who are you again?
I'm
make
get
fun.
everybody
That
in
was
the
great,
mood.
Julie. I love that idea, that was good.
So, what do you think about this? What's the sense of this one? Is it compelling? Does it elicit the sort of inspiration that we want? Is it reflective of the values? Can we say this with pride everywhere we go, regardless of your role at PPS?
Can it fit on a t-shirt?
Not quite.
Maybe on the back.
I mean, in that type, in that font, yeah.
Don't go any bigger.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Light, 8 point.
Yeah, probably. We're getting there.
I can
Can I
see a team
suggest-
exercise with each participant with one of those words and trying to create the sentence.
That is hilarious, yes.
Can I suggest 3 words to delete, because they're appearing at the end now, that every student with at the top?
Yeah.
We provide rigorous high-quality academic learning experiences.
Oh, I like that. That last iteration felt a tad long.
Yeah.
And it talks about what we provide, who we are.
You could even just do we provide a vibrant environment for every student to demonstrate excellence to shorten.
I like the idea that people have.
Can I make a friendly amendment, because I like to be concise, but you can tell me. I feel like if we have 2 short sentences as opposed to one long one, friendly amendment, you can kick me out, that are inclusive and joyful, period. We disrupt racial inequities and create vibrant environments for every student to demonstrate excellence.
And for 2 sentences.
And for
So
2
it's
sentences.
2 sentences, they're short, which will help in memorization, Dr. Bird.
Mission statements.
Mission
It's a statement.
It's a statement.
It's a statement
not a mission
that has
sentence.
2 sentences as
Yeah.
opposed to 1 run-on. I've seen some mission statements, I'm not lying to you, I've seen some mission statements that are like 4 or 5 sentences.
That's true.
I have 2.
That's too.
Jackson.
Is it an and create or to create?
Oh, I like that. To create or and create?
Inequities to create vibrant environments.
Yep, I like to.
2.
That's great. Okay, one last, oh, no.
I was just gonna say one last question, like, can people live with this?
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you wanna do one last elevator and then, are we there? Okay, here we go. And then the test is, can Dr. Bird recite it after the elevator, okay?
Or ask for Stacey Abrams.
I know, right? So, no pressure, but I believe in you. I really want this for you.
Thank you, Deb.
Okay, here we go. Ding! We provide rigorous, high-quality academic learning experiences that are inclusive and joyful. We disrupt racial inequities to create vibrant environments for every student to demonstrate excellence. Sean, close your eyes and tell us what we just said.
We provide high-quality academic learning experiences that are inclusive and joyful. We disrupt racial inequities to create vibrant environments for every student to demonstrate excellence.
You forgot the word rigorous, but other than that,
We'll take it.
And it'll fit on a t-shirt,
yeah.
says David.
We get some t-shirts. We'll have those soon.
Well, so I think now we're at the chair's question. Is this the mission statement that we can incorporate into all of the work moving forward?
And this is right now.
Yep.
And this is for now.
So, like, I'm a person that sometimes, like, okay, I'd say, like, for tonight, yes, but it's like, I always wonder, am I looking at it just through my lens? So we have, what, 20 lenses here? You know, are we missing something? Do we want to put it out for, like, as a draft, just as a, did we completely miss something? Before, like, this is the final?
Well, I mean, I think your question makes me do a wondering. I wonder, as you're reading this, for all of you, as you're thinking about this, what other perspectives are you bringing into the room, right? So we all have our individual perspectives. I was very clear about what my sort of perspectives are. Maybe we should sort of go around and sort of and surface amongst yourselves, like kind of what perspectives are you thinking about in doing this? Because I think that can help inform an answer, right? So, and I think it's okay if you're like, I was just thinking about me. But as you think about this, is there other perspectives that people are bringing and thinking about as we're thinking about the mission statement? So, for example, I would answer for David. I imagine that he is thinking about the media response as well as the t-shirt situation.
And the font size.
Yeah. So what are some other perspectives that people are bringing into the room as they're considering this?
I think when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking about families that may have felt left out in the past. Like, I'm thinking about families who may have felt like this school system hasn't been working for me. It hasn't been focused on me. I'm the invisible student that's there every day. That's sort of what I'm thinking about as I'm going through it and wanting to push back as far as like the academics. And I don't care that they can do this. I want to know that they can read. And so that's sort of the lens I was trying to come from.
And do you think that if
Wait, hold on just one second. Let's hear all the perspectives, and then we'll ask folks to do that. Other perspectives that you're bringing into the room.
I've heard a lot of pushback on the vision, that the vision doesn't call out academics as robustly, that it has a lot about leadership and like the kind of person, but that basic about like, can people read? So that was part of my thinking as we looked at the mission statement, and then pulling in, some of the community feedback that I heard in that visioning process about the kinds of things that mattered to people who were at those meetings about, and I think the high quality piece is something, and then that, again, for me, the joyful that, I hear from so many folks, the social emotional, and then again, back to inclusive with the SPED families, that we want to have high quality academic experiences for students that are special education students as well, and that's something I've heard time and time again from that community, is that it's not about just like babysitting, it's about providing rigor to all students regardless of their educational status.
Great, all right. Other folks, other perspectives? I guess I was like being funny, but I as we were thinking about this, I was thinking of like John and Tony DeFalco and Mark Jackson and Libra Ford and the sort of like leaders of our RESJ partners, and sort of how the mission statement is both inclusive of their work and also kind of differentiates roles.
It makes me wonder if we should, those are all people that I've known and worked with for years, and they speak for our communities that are the least well served, and I'm just wondering if we would run it by them, like look at it for 1 minute, and you have like 1 sentence feedback. Or are we okay? Like I feel like the perspective that I bring is represented. It's going back to what you said, Director Green, was about the families that are invisible, students that are invisible, don't show up to the meetings, don't ever write an email, don't even know that we have an email address maybe. And so it's those students that I feel like they would see themselves in this statement.
And I think about the 9,000 staff that I get to work with, that we all get to work with, and as they read this, I see them finding ways to connect, and it's explicit that we're about racial equity, right? Or that we're here to disrupt racial inequities, that we're here to provide inclusive and joyful experiences. And so whether you're, a teacher in the front of the classroom, or the janitor or the superintendent, how are you living into that statement? And I think it gives me a why, right? It gives me my why as a staff.
I can envision this on the wall of every classroom.
Exactly,
and
that was what I was going to say.
I know, like for my own, I've used, like mission statements just to keep a North Star. You're sitting there in your work at your desk and you're like, well, why am I here? Having those existential questions of yourself. It's to do this, in case you need a reminder.
Yeah.
And it's on the wall, so you don't have to memorize it.
So I guess going back to Julia's question, right, is sort of like, as we think about the multiple perspectives that are at the table, as well as the other perspectives that we're trying to bring in, Do you feel like this needs more vetting, or do we feel like this is something that we've really tried to bring in those other perspectives, those folks that are sometimes feel invisible, our partners, our staff, students, families?
So, when I tried to bring this, there's like a viewpoint of like a parent of a student who wasn't successful in BPS, and because of like the academics and just a variety of other things, and like other parents I know who've like really been frustrated with the system because like for whatever reason it didn't serve their students well. And I think that this gets at it. I guess one of the things that I sometimes get, and I don't know, 1+ for some of the things that Ailey said, just what I heard from parents like after the visioning process is like, that's a lot of edu speak, or like kind of inside, like you guys are insiders, like we use robust and that's a code word for rigorous academics. And so I wonder, it's like, if I were to like talk to just like, you know, regular parents who aren't involved in any like education policy or, you know, they you know, drop their kids off at school, do the best they can to support them. It's like, are we using language that's accessible? And that's just like a wondering I have.
That's, sorry. I think it does. I mean, you know, when I think about, I'm translating it in Spanish, right? Like I'm reading it, translating in Spanish. How would I talk to my mom about this, right? And it does, right? Because I think it goes to kind of Herman's point, right? Like my mom has a 6th grade, you know, 4th grade education, you know, but she knows what she doesn't know what high quality is because she doesn't have a degree, but she can imagine, right? Because she sees me joyful when I came home as a 4th grader, or you know, saw me excited to do my homework. And so in that way, I think when I'm talking about it, when I look at it, it does speak to that. They may not know the lingo, they may not know the research behind it, but they can feel it.
It's still written at a higher academic level than the existing one, right? It goes from, there's more plain speak in the current one. This is more of a graduate level reading. And it's beautifully, the language is beautiful, but that's a choice.
I think one of the things that, like when Jonathan was talking about the staff, I think this is a really tacky statement in that like there's lots of stuff that like people can stick to. So you can, if you just look at sort of like rigorous, right? Like there's a lot of folks who can, when you think about like what's happening now in service of the vision, there's like a whole set of stakeholders, a whole set of folks that can unpack rigorous, right? Rigor alone, right? If you think of like Russ and the systems performance group, you think of like our Office of Teaching and Learning, right? Like it's really tacky, right? High quality academic learning experiences, right? You're like, oh my gosh, let's just dive in there, right? I think about like our early learning partners and some of the pre-K work that we're doing around sort of like, what does that actually look like? It feels really tacky. Like there's so many things that you can get in there and sort of stick to. And so I think one of the challenges is how do you sort of inspire while also being accessible? And I think there's trade-offs. But in looking at this, it feels really tacky. Like, you know, I think that there's, and John talked about that, there's so many things that people want to glom onto in that work. You know, and I think we are maybe a little bit on the scale, right of nerd on the scale here, but I think it's 7:30 on a Thursday night, and folks are kind of like, oh yeah, this is what we're doing. This is exciting.
Well, I think every family, regardless of the education you have, regardless of, you know, I mean, my dad just wrote me, I shared it with the superintendent, saying, I hope you remember your grandmother moving over here with an 8th grade education, emigrating with an 8th grade education with 2 kids, and I hope you draw strength from that. Like that, she moved here not because she wanted to leave everything she knew. Every family wants a high quality academic, and some people move continents for that.
I think from a like, if we're looking at like a wordiness, and I think about it like, write it so that a 5th grader can understand it. The words rigorous and inequities are the only 2 words on the page that I feel like they might be like, what does this mean? You know, so when you look at it. So, but high quality, you're gonna know what that is. Academic learning experience, you know. But rigorous, they might be like, what does that mean? Inequities, they may be like, what? I mean, I get it, but and it reads good. I like it. Don't get me wrong. I don't have a problem with it. I just like it. The only thing I was going to say is what we were talking about. I see it on every classroom. I feel like as a board, we need to figure out and vote and say we want to do it, and we want it in every classroom, in every school. We want it in the principal's office. We want about 12 of them in every hallway, and everybody should have to have it, period. Every day I want you to see it. That's so that we're all reading and seeing the same thing. But if I were going to, like from an educational perspective, like, oh, it's wordy, the rigorous and inequities, how do we say that and use something that a fifth grader would understand? So if it's going to be in every classroom, then we got to think about the elementary school that it's going to go in, right? And the elementary school is going to have to look at it and try to explain it to the kids in their third grade class, rigorous. And they was like, what is that? And so
we're going to put rigorous up on the wall with the definition. And when they leave at the end of the year, they'll understand what the word means.
I don't like any of that. I don't like the racial injustices or racism, because that's real easy to say, well, I'm not racist, I'm not unjust. But inequities, right? Like that starts to talk about privilege, and so I think racial injustice and racism actually are cop-outs for white folks. So I think racial inequities is a much stronger word and goes to our deeper values, and I think we need to teach it to all of our kids.
Yeah. On the other hand, I think about parents of color. Racial inequities sometimes feels like you're dancing around the racism or the injustice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where you can call it
comforting.
Injustice is something that I think a lot of people connect with, right? Injustice is wrong anywhere. Inequities, I mean, I obviously like racial inequities, but
I think the same side of that coin is then for white people, it's like, well, I'm not being racially unjust. That's just how the system is, right? There's a cover there. That I don't actually have to change it. I'm a nice person. This is not an injustice, this is just how things are. Mm-hmm. Right? Injustice is George Floyd being murdered, not, how my school gets more.
Mm-hmm. It's over there.
Mm-hmm. So, but I see I think, Michelle, you've often talked about we need to name things for what they are and be really clear, so I think that's important. But I also think there's a distancing that nice white people do. So, but I'm happy with, racial inequities or racial injustice or racism are all fine.
Andrew, do you have any thoughts to add?
No, I feel a little bit like I'm in the elevator, so I'm in a good position. So feel the elevator speech. No, I like it a lot. I think we've hit on something really good. It's a really minor thing. I might take out the word vibrant. I like the word vibrant, but just in terms of we disrupt racial inequities to create environments, right? Vibrant is one of those words, it feels a little bit like an added-in word to me, but I don't feel strongly about it.
Just doing a time check, it's about 7:35, and one of the characteristics of white supremacy is perfectionism, and I think we need to know, is this going to work for us? It does for me. I feel like we've wordsmithed that we could do this all night, but I'm really happy with where it is right now. And that's
it works for me.
Before we print 10,000 posters, let's keep asking that
t-shirts.
question.
Before we close out, I just want everybody to acknowledge Amy Lowry's birthday today.
Yes, it is. We can sing. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear lady. How much y'all call it? Happy birthday to you.
There is some amazing cake. Is it banana cake, Roseanne? Banana cake. It's so good, light, fluffy, amazing. So Roseanne got that to celebrate my birthday. Please have some. It's so good. Thank you all.
Yes. And I also want to acknowledge and thank Danny and Jonathan for an excellent facilitation. Sorry, give us some pointers, but really, really nice job on giving us something to respond to and making it so we're not here till 10 o'clock tonight. I think the work was really, really productive tonight.
That'll be nice for them.
Excellent work.
I guess we're adjourned.
Thank you, Michelle.
We are adjourned for banana cake.
Weren't we all?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great.